We're going to move on to Sheri Schwartz, who is the Project Manager and Operations Coordinator for TetraTech.
Thank you, Jana. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. All right, you should all be able to see my screen now at the MARACOOS landing page. So hello, everyone. I am Sheri Schwartz, and I work at TetraTech Ocean Science. We are MARACOOS's data managers, and we've recently been working with the MARACOOS team to develop the OceansMap Insights. And we are continually improving these. And I'm just going to go over some of those with you today and kind of give you a little bit of a demo of OceansMap as we go through. Now, the OceansMap Insights are pre-made permalinks to interactive map views and dashboards, and they were designed to provide quick and easy access to real-time data for a variety of scenarios and users. There are currently 22 different insights on the landing page, and they're all organized into these 5 categories that are shown at the top of the page. So let's go ahead and explore one together. I thought starting with the environmental conditions category made sense. So we're going to look at this water temperature anomaly insight, which I've already opened in a separate tab. So when you first open that insight, this is what it will look like. For those of you who have never seen OceansMap before, you'll usually get the map with some data visualizations preloaded as default. Sometimes some analyses will pull up too, just depending on the permalink you picked to get there. Like most map-based portals, you can navigate by clicking and dragging somewhere on the map. You can use the zoom or the scroll wheel on your mouse to zoom, the trackpad on your laptop, but we also have these plus and minus buttons down here in the bottom right corner. And in the top right corner, we have the zoom to box selection where if you select that and then just draw like a square over your area of interest, the map will zoom into that area. Um, there are some more icons over here in this top right, and a lot of these are just helpful for grabbing a little information about your data and as well as sharing and collaborating that information as well. So the first one is share this view. This is our permalink generation tool, and you can toggle these settings and create URL. And then this will generate a new link, which you can copy, you can paste it into a new window, put it in an email to yourself or your colleagues, bookmark it, save it on your desktop, whatever. It's going to be easiest for you to either come back to this or just share this information with someone else. We also have a screenshot tool if you want to take screenshots. You can generate video files with the animation tool, kind of like the data changing over time. This Activate Hover tooltip allows us to just hover our mouse over a spot on the map and it pulls up the data that's preloaded at that location that's most recently available. The measure distance tool allows you to just kind of measure the distance between 2 points on the map. I talked about the zoom to box. And then, of course, our legend is last but not least, gives us a lot of information about the data kind of that's already on the map and what those colors are indicating. Now, over on the left, there's a lot more tools about just helpful for really exploring, diving into that data and analyzing a bit more. So we start with our data catalog, which is this icon at the top with all of the data layers. They are categorized into these categories here, and which are all expandable and collapsible. You can also search the catalog for something specific, like a specific parameter or specific region. You can filter it just to pull up what's active or even just what's available now based on your map's current view. And this eye icon turns off everything that's currently loaded. We have a virtual stations tool where you can create your own kind of like virtual buoys and get data and save some data at those locations and save those for future use. The weather window tool will allow you to run a multivariate Boolean analysis, which is great for kind of some decision making and weather window planning, especially for various groups of users. The validation tool allows us to run a validation statistics between either 2 models or an observational data set and a model. We can create our own layers and shapes and dots and lines on the map with the custom layers tool. The base map tool allows us to really just change up that base map and kind of how it looks. We can use satellite imagery, grayscale. There's quite a few options in here, as well as a global view, which you'll see in a few minutes. Compare mode is what pulls up this slider that you see on the screen now. So I'm going to circle back to this tool in a minute. We also have our insights tool, which is where we just kind of embed the same list of insights in OceansMap in case you wanted to access them from there. And then the feedback form is a really great tool if you have questions, if you run into a problem and you can't kind of figure out how to fix it, if you notice any problems at all, or even just data access issues, you can use this form and it'll send an email as well as a permalink to myself and the Maracoo's team so we can take a look at it and help you out as soon as possible. All right, so let's dive in a little bit into this specific insight. And like I mentioned, this one is looking at compare mode. So I opened up the tool on the left and we can see here, first there is this toggle at the top, which allows me to toggle that slider on and off. And then down in this little kind of box here, we can see that we have our GOES sea surface temperature data set on the left side of the screen. It's what this blue icon is indicating here. And then the anomaly data set is on the right side of the screen. And this is also verified here in our legend where we can see each one on which side. If either of these were across both sides of the screen, then this center square is what would be highlighted blue. So this is allowing us to kind of look at the sea surface temperature and the anomaly. And so when I look at my legend, I can see that the temperature on the left side is giving me that full rainbow color palette, but the anomaly on the right side is only showing me either blues or reds. And these blues are really indicating that the temperature is a little bit cooler than average, whereas if you saw like red or pink, that usually indicates it's a little bit warmer than average. So if we just wanted to get some more information, maybe something specific to the Delaware region, and come back to it later, I would recommend a couple of steps to do that. The first is to pick a spot on the map of the location where you'd like to kind of come back to and take a look at the data at another time. And then you can click, let me just close this legend. You can click the Add to Virtual Stations button, and as soon as I do that, I've got my teardrop buoy at that spot that I picked. A nice label pops up, and I've got this new icon or this new badge indicating #1 over here at my Virtual Stations tool. And there it is in my list. I can delete it from this section. I can also add more virtual stations. I can import a CSV if I had a whole file of locations I wanted to pull in. But for now, we can also just click this pencil icon and that opens up our settings. So from the settings menu, I can change the name. I can add a description for this station. I can even change the color. If I had specific GPS coordinates I wanted to put in, I could drop those in here. Or if that just know that's quite not right, I could just change the location with a map click. Let me pick a slightly different spot and click save, and that buoy is just going to pop right over there. And then as I just wanted to highlight too, as I pull the slider to the left or to the right, that does change kind of what we're seeing for that color palette at our location. So we can see this data table down at the bottom, which pulls up our slightly cooler anomaly. So it's showing it's -1, which means it's a little bit cooler than average, even though we do see this pinkish color. And then the temperature is about 22 degrees Celsius. If you want to come back to this later, as I was mentioning before, the best way to do that is to create a new permalink. So if you were to go back to that MARACOOS Insights page over here and click on this link, or sorry, this link again, it will pull up the same view we were seeing at the very beginning of this demonstration. But if you wanted to pull up this virtual station that we created and save it for later, you'll create a new permalink and just make sure that you copy it to your clipboard and paste it into a new browser or an email or wherever you want to save it for future reference. All right, let's dive into our next insight. So this one is a dashboard format, and we're going to explore the Navigation Chesapeake Channel dashboard. So now we are looking at the dashboard, and it was designed to help people safely navigate through the Chesapeake by providing an in-depth understanding of conditions. So right off the bat, we see a lot of important observation metrics. There's a lot of information here. So we see in the middle here this air temperature value. There's also the sea surface temperature and salinity. And we also have these three tables that are scrollable, so I can just kind of pull those down a little bit. And they're pulling in some pretty detailed information about three important parameters for navigation. So we've got current direction and speed, wind direction and speed, as well as wave direction and period. And one of the things I like about these tables is they not only show you the value of the information you're looking for, but also where it came from. So we can see that all of these parameters are being pulled from the CBIBS data set, specifically that York Spit Station, which is this one right here. And we can also see when the data was pulled. So we can see that the most recent time that this was given to us was at 9 a.m. this morning, which is great and super helpful for just understanding how recent that data is if you are planning a trip out to try to navigate through some waters. On the left, we have this miniature map. So this has some data that's preloaded in here. So we do have these buoys that are just kind of highlighting where those are located. But we also have this water level CBOFS model data set, and that's giving us a pretty decent idea of what the water level is throughout all the tributaries and in the Chesapeake. So anyone could come in here and zoom in on a specific location and kind of get a sense of what they're dealing with. Scrolling down, we also have some rose plots. So these are summarizing the past 48 hours of information from that same York Spit CBIB station. And so we've got wind speed and direction, wave height and direction, and current speed and direction. Scrolling down, we also have time series plots that are showing predictions for the kind of like today and the next 48 hours of data. So these are coming from various models, mostly CBAF, CBOFs, and the NWPS models as well. And so we're seeing time series predictions for water level, currents predictions, waves, and winds. Like the map insights, the dashboard insights are also highly customizable. You could easily come in here and edit any of these widgets, save a new permalink, and tailor it to your needs and kind of come back to another time. So I'll show you how to do that. The first thing you'll need to do is click this light lock icon, and it will allow you to now make all kinds of changes to your dashboard, including editing these widgets. That's what we call each of these little boxes. You could click the X icon and just remove them. You can also completely resize them, move them around, just completely change the format, whatever makes the most sense for you. Um, or if you decide this looks great, but I just need information that's more specific for my needs, go ahead and click on these pencil icon and you can change the settings. So that includes the title, the parameter if you wanted to pull up a different model or a different variable that's of interest. You can also change the offset range. So this is that kind of 0 to 48-hour range I mentioned before. You could easily change that to -48 and kind of get a 4-day spread. So that's showing the past 2 days, today, and the next 2 days. You can also change the location. We do have a spot to put GPS coordinates, or you can pick a spot on the map. So if you just wanted to zoom in kind of closer to Newport News, you could pick a spot over here and save the widget, and it quickly updates your widget. So you could do that to all of them, or change any setting or parameter, or even add new widgets. Then re-lock that icon to lock down your dashboard, and you'll create a whole new permalink with the same share this view tool in the dashboard. So same thing, you could send this to yourself, send this to a colleague, or bookmark it and just come back to it later and have more to reference at another time. All right, now I'm going to move into our third insight. And so this one that we're looking at now is the East Coast Storm Tracking Insight. This one is obviously our map view, as you can see, and it's using that globe view I mentioned, which is kind of cool. Pretty fun to see a lot of these global data sets on a nice virtual globe there on my computer. Okay, so let me open my legend because there is quite a lot of information, as we can see on our map. The first layer we have here, this is our National Hurricane Center tropical cyclone data set, and it's pulling up any currently named active storms. It doesn't look like there is anything out there in the Atlantic, but just to give you a sense of what that looks like, there is a storm, Storm Mario out in the Pacific. So this is what that we would see if there was a storm in the Atlantic. Let's see, in our legend, we also see that we have winds. Those are the barbs on the map. Gliders are these black tracks, and so we have those there because gliders are super useful for getting in kind of the path of a storm and collecting a lot of observed information in those areas. We also have our Estoff surge tide, and the global wave height is the primary color layer that you're seeing on the map currently. We do also have an Elizabeth City, North Carolina virtual station in here kind of preloaded, but anyone can come in, like I said before, and kind of just edit that location, change it, or even create a new virtual station if you'd like to. But for now, I actually want to show you a different tool. So I'm going to zoom in to the Delaware area, And I'd like to see maybe if we knew a storm was coming and wanted to get a sense of how these models that I have in this insight are comparing to the observations that are being collected around this area. I would need to open up my validation tool. And then first I need to select a parameter. So I want to maybe see wind. I'll pick wind speed. And now I need to pick a baseline. And this could be another model, but I want to, like I said, look at observational stations. So I'm going to click Show Available Stations. And that should pull up stations that are in my current map view and have recent data for the parameter that I already selected. So now those are populated. We can see these buoys here. We've got some USGS, and the purple ones are in DBC. I think I'm gonna go ahead and pick this one because I saw earlier that it was reporting some good wind data. And then I just need to pick a comparison. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick the global GFS and click Calculate. It might take a minute to run those statistics, but once it does, it will pull up a validation statistics table, a time series, plot of both the observation and the model data on the time series, as well as a scatter plot that's going to have the observed data on the x-axis and the model data on the y-axis, so you can kind of get a sense of how, where, and when those are differing. And there we go. So it went ahead and generated the statistics table, the scatter plot that I mentioned, and the time series as well. Each of these graphs are downloadable, so you could click this icon and download it as a CSV, a PDF, or an image, as well as the table, I think is just the CSV. All right, that brings me to my last insight. So this one is another dashboard. This is a little more geared towards recreational users. This is our surfers dashboard. And as soon as it loads, we do see some real-time observation data. So we have wave height and wind speed, water temperature, and air temperature. We also have this mini oceans map. So this one's a little bit more detailed than the previous mini map view I showed you in the other dashboard. This one not only allows us to pull up a legend, but we also have this the Activate Hover tooltip here. So I could pull up my data and just kind of get a glimpse at what I'm seeing in this map. And then scrolling down, let me actually turn that off. Scrolling down, we also have some model data sets and time series here. So we're looking at wind speed as this top one. We've also got wave height, wave period, and wave direction, all showing kind of the past 2 days, today, and the next 2 days. And of course, a rose plot as well, which is super helpful for folks who are going surfing that are showing wave direction and period. Kind of the same thing here. This is tailored for the Delaware Bay, but if you were surfing somewhere else or a specific location, you could tailor those graphs for whatever your preferred surfing spot is to get the most helpful information for you. And if you wanted to go and kind of either explore this mini oceans map in more depth or even tailor it specifically for your needs, you could do that. So I'm just going to open up the settings for that widget really quickly and show you that this version, this map widget, is actually functioning through a permalink. So if I grab that, I could open it in a new tab, and it's going to pull up exactly what we were just looking at, but now I have all of the Oceans Map tools in front of me. I can tailor it. I can change the layers that are activated, take off layers I don't need, or add some observations, whatever it is that's going to be useful for me. All right, I think that is everything that I had to go over with you today. I know that was a bit of a whirlwind, but please don't hesitate to use that feedback form if you do have suggestions or questions. I'm also happy to answer any questions here. And if you are curious about learning more about how to use any of these tools, especially since I know I couldn't cover everything today, MARACOOS has a lot of really helpful tutorials on YouTube. So I highly recommend that you check out their YouTube channel and take a look at those. But also, if you're in Oceans Map and you get stuck or you just need some help or some tips, you can open up any tool. You'll see this little info icon. And when you click on that, you're going to get a lot of information and some of those embedded videos. So it's really helpful. There's a lot of like advanced tips and tricks, not just beginner information in here too. So I highly recommend that you check those out. All right, I will pass it back to the MARACOOS team. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sheri. If anyone has any questions for Sheri or for Alexander or Tina, please feel free to message in the question and answer part of the chat or raise your hand. We have a few minutes for questions at this time. Sheri, real quick, what is the process that you guys are kind of going through to get feedback and kind of grow these Oceans Map insights? What's the best way if people have suggestions or would like to see a different insight to get in touch with us and you over at Tetra Tech?
Great question. There's quite a few ways. I think right now the best, or maybe the easiest if you're in Oceans Map, is to use that feedback form. Like I said, it will go to all of us. There's also the info@maracoosorg or .org email address on your screen right now. But I do want to add that we are working on a new process and a new form that we'll be sharing with the community once that rolls out, and that will probably be the most efficient way to get information to us and feedback. And we're always welcome to feedback. Even if you break something, we want to hear about it. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for that. And it doesn't look like we have any other questions at this time. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it back to Emily Davenport, our communications manager, to wrap it up for us.
Thanks, Jana. I just wanted to say one more time, thank you to everybody for tuning in. And before we sign off for the day, I wanted to remind you of some ways to stay connected with MARACOOS and keep up with the latest tools, projects, and opportunities. So you can visit our website, sign up for our newsletter to get regular updates. You can also follow us on social media and YouTube to see how ocean and coastal data are supporting decisions across the Mid-Atlantic. I'm going to go ahead and drop several links into the chat where you can find us, our social, our newsletter, our website, our YouTube. So please feel free to follow us there, share our content, and stay tuned for a lot more from us in the future. Thanks.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.